Okay, guys, so for this one, we are now going to look at equations that have rational or fraction exponents. And so the first thing that we need to recognize is when fraction exponent, in that exponent, the top value represents the power and the bottom value represents the root. Now, you've got two different options on how you write this. You're allowed to do the root first, which when we are working with numbers is the more common way that we do stuff, because we'd rather bring numbers down smaller and then build them back up than we would like to take them really big and then try and figure out how to bring them down. But you do have the option to take the power first and then the root. Now, the way that we're going to do this is similar to how we did our square root one. We are going to get the equation that has the rational exponent by itself first. And then we're going to raise things to the m over n, or the n over m power. I'm going to show you this kind of in a different format first before you see that. And then you do have to check your solutions. Now, you do need to do the plus and minus option. If the root that you're taking when you go in to actually find that answer, if that is an even root, like a square root or a fourth root, then you need to go ahead and take the plus minus. If it's not, then you're going to go ahead and you don't have to worry with that. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple things first. Okay. So the first thought is, if you had a problem like 2/7 x equals 9, and you were asked how to clear this off, some of you might say divide by 2/7. You might say times 7 and then divide by 2. But the concept here is that it can be done all in one step if you multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, because the 7/2 and the 2/7 are going to cross each other out. Okay, leaving me just the x. Now, when we see this done with exponents, okay, we've got to remember our rules that say if I have something like this, powers and powers multiply. So the way that I'm going to be able to do that multiply by the reciprocal is bring something to that upper power. Okay, so the particular problem that we're going to look at is I've got 5x to the 3/2 minus 25 equals 0. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to get that x to the 3/2 by itself. So I'm going to add 25 over here. So now I've got 5x to the 3/2 equals 25. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 5, get that off the front. So now I've got x to the 3/2 equals 5. Okay. Now, when I go to do this, okay, using some of the same techniques that I've used before, I like to use the parentheses here. I've got this to the 2/3. Now, again, what I do to one side, I've got to do to the other. Okay. This 3/2 times 2/3 is going to go away. So that's going to let me just the x. Now, here with this, okay, the bottom number is my root. So I have the cube root of 5 and then squared. Okay, and that is certainly one answer value. Guys, I can't take a cube root of 5. It's not going to work. Now, the other option that I have is I can take the power, okay, on the inside. Now, 5 squared is 25, but there's still not a cube root of 25, okay? So this would be either this or this would be an acceptable format, okay? Now, taking a look at one where, and this is a complete aside, just dealing with kind of a numbers thing. Let's say that I had something where I'd work the problem down to, I had 27 to the 2/3, okay? This would be an instance where I would want to do the root first, more than likely, because the cube root of 27 is 3. And so that brings my number down quite small. And then I can do 3 squared is 9, okay? Now, the other option is you could do cube root of 27 squared, okay? But then you're doing the square root of, I believe this is 729, okay? And so now you've got to figure out what value cube gives you 729. Now, it is still 9, because 9 times 9 is 81, times 9 is 729. But this is, to me, is a lot more challenging than taking this down smaller first and then building it back up.